Okay. Chayli agov, there's people who are sick, and they have a illness that they hamar masuk v'masuk mar. They taste the bitter as sweet and the sweet as bitter. They have a sickness. V'yesh min hachelim. There's also other kind of people who have a similar sickness, and they mishem misave v'toy v'maycholish inum ru'im lachila. They want to eat things that aren't befit, that aren't edible. Could go in, for example, a pecham like earth and charcoal. And these people, they hate healthy and proper foods. So there's two sicknesses the Rambam mentions here. One sickness, you taste the bitter as sweet and the sweet as bitter. A second thing is people just have a sickness. They don't enjoy proper food like meat and bread, rather earth and charcoal. So the Rambam says the same way that's a physical sickness, so too people also have a sickness of the soul. That's what the Rambam said. They have a soul sickness. What does that mean? That they're sick in their soul. They cleave and they crave destructive behaviors. The and they hate and despise the good path, and they're lazy in going with them. And it's heavy on them. It's hard for them to do the right thing. But every single person according to their sickness. So some people are sick that they enjoy eating the wrong things. So too, people have more of a mental sickness, more of an emotional sickness, that they enjoy negative kind of behaviors and character traits. So too, like the prophet Yeshayahu said about these people, Hoi, woe to the people, they say to the good that it's bad and to the bad that it's good. They put darkness, they view darkness as light and light as darkness. To the sweet bitter, they mix up bitter and sweet. And then they say, they leave the straight path to go in the dark path. Fine, so that's the sickness that the Rambam says. So the Rambam in this parak is going to be speaking about three general sicknesses. Now, number one, he's going to speak in general about how to in line with our proper behavior. And then he's going to talk about arrogance and anger. We're going to speak about speech, how to watch our words. And the third thing is going to be how not to deceive other people, not to be deceiving. Fine. So thereafter, the Rambam says that there was these kind of sick people. The Rambam says, "Umahi." What should these people do? People that have this sickness, what should they do? He says, they should go to the wise people, which they are soul doctors. There's physical doctors for the body, and there's doctors for the soul. And they would heal them until the doctors will bring them back to the proper path. The Rambam says those people who are sick and they know that they have this sickness and they don't want to go to the doctors to heal it. Aleim shleim on them. Shleim said, "Musar like a vilim bozu," and them shleim said that these people are foolish and they're wasting proper knowledge and proper resources. So the Rambam basically says if someone is sick and they have bad instincts and wrong instincts and unhealthy instincts and behaviors and character traits, they must, until to the extent that they see bitter as sweet and sweet as bitter, they see what's harmful to them as beneficial to them, these people got to see doctors. We're not talking about regular physicians. We're talking about, I would say more psychiatrists and psychologists. That's it seems like what the Rambam is speaking about in order to put them in the proper path. And if they know their sickness and they don't want to go to a doctor, the Rambam says it's a very, very terrible thing. Okay, halacha base. If you have any questions, please stop me. I'll be happy to answer them. Halacha base. The kids for us. And what should they do? What's a cure for such a thing? Someone's attracted to the wrong thing. How could they change? So this is what the Rama says. Mishu balchema, someone who has a lot of anger. He's constantly angry and upset. We tell him lahanig asmi to conduct himself shim hukav akula lo yargish klal. That if someone hits him or someone bothers him or someone even curses him, yelich b'derech zman meruba achater kachim b'libay. If someone bothers him, if someone curses him, if someone gets upset at him, he should not get upset. He should stay cold, stay put, and do not react. That's what the Rambam says. He should go in this behavior for a long time until he kind of learns how to fix himself up. So basically, the Rambam says that if someone's on one extreme, he should go to the opposite extreme in order so he can balance out and can end up coming to the middle. If he was an arrogant person, Yanik Asim b'bizayin harbi, he should conduct himself in a very, if you want to call it, in a very low way. V'yeshiv, meaning he should disgrace himself. V'yeshiv matam and he should sit below everybody. V'yilbash b'blui eschavas hamavazim eslav shem, and he should be wearing rags and not respectful clothing. V'kayetziv dvarim elo achat v'yakar gva halev imeno v'yachzer l'derech ha'imtzayis. He should do this until he comes to the middle path, Shiderech HaTeva, which is a proper path. So basically, the Rambam says that if someone is a haughty person, if someone's arrogant, what should he do? What's his cure? We're saying that he should conduct himself in a very low and a very humble way, and a very, very disgraceful way for a long enough time until he kind of uproots his arrogance, until he's ready to go in a middle path in more of a dignified way. So the Rambam says if you're one extreme, go to the opposite extreme so you can come to the middle. And the Rambam is going to continue with that for the next few things. And this kind of remedy, this kind of path, going from one extreme to the next extreme, in order so you should end up in the middle, you should do with many other kind of behaviors. If you're in one extreme, go to the other extreme. You should do that for a long period of time until you return to the proper way. Which is the middle path, which is in every kind of behavior, which is every kind of conduct. Now we're going to talk about haughtiness and anger. So the Rambam is saying there's certain behaviors that you need to be somewhere in the middle. The Rambam says now there's certain behaviors that you have to distance yourself entirely from them, which is gvalev, which is someone that is egotistic or narcissistic. It's not enough. You should just be humble. You should be even more humble than humble, if you want to say. Shval ruach means extremely low, I guess. I'm not sure what the perfect translation. I guess like a low spirit. And the Rambam brings a proof for this, that we should be even more humble than humble, if you like to say. Because it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, not just that he was humble, but he was very humble. So we see from there, it's not just good enough to be humble, but to be very humble. Therefore, it's our rabbis commanded us, you should be very, very humble. And they also said, anybody who lifts himself up, becomes haughty, becomes too haughty, kafar be'ikr, he denies everything. He denies the fundamentals. Shenemar, meaning he denies the Torah and he denies that God is actually created the world, so to speak. Shenemar, like it says, v'ram levavcha, you're going to raise your heart. You're going to forget God. But we also said the Ishamta that who should be banned, the Isbeg Asaruach, I feel miksasa. Someone who has haughtiness, even a little bit of haughtiness, they should be banned and they should be put in midui. So we see from here that there's certain behaviors, you got to distance yourself to the further extreme. The akas and anger, it's a very, very terrible trait. And you should distance yourself to the further extreme. You should teach yourself not to ever get upset. Even if someone did something harmful to you, and you should get upset. Rama says you should not get upset. And if you want to, if you feel that you need to get upset because you're in a leadership position, you need to teach your children, you need to teach your household, you need to teach your employees or your workers that they can't pass the line, they can't do this and this, and therefore you have to get upset. So he says, or if you're a community activist and you're doing it for their own good, in order to kind of teach them. So what should you do? He should view himself. You should pretend as if you are. You should make believe. You should pretend. You should act as if you're angry. But really deep inside, you shouldn't be angry. You should keep cool and you should keep your conscience. In order to teach them. But your mind should be stay put. Between himself. As if you're pretending, as if you're acting, but you're not actually upset. Because we say that once you're upset, like you just lose it and you can't think properly, like we're going to see in the next halacha. So halacha gimel, the rabbi said, anybody who loses his temper, who gets upset, is as if he served idols. And we say, anybody who loses his temper and is angry, if he's a wise person, he loses his intellect for that moment that he's upset. He can't think properly. And if he's a prophet, his nevuah, his prophecy is going to leave from him. Balekas, that's what it's. So even if you're a smart person, a talented person, even a prophet, you're going to lose your prophecy. You're not going to be able to function properly for the time that you're upset. That's what the Rambam says, that we got to distance ourselves from it as much as we can. Now, the Rambam says something else. Balekas, people who are usually angry, balekas means that they like own anger. They're like very, very, I guess, it's very, very common for them to get upset. Ein chayim chaim. Their life is not a life. Because they're always upset, they're always bitter, they're always worked up. They don't have a proper life. Therefore, tzivu, we are commanded to distance ourselves from anger until you should train yourself not to even get upset at even on the smallest things. And this is the proper path to go. As the Rambam says, ideally, we should train ourselves not to get upset about anything. Even the most rightful things that we should get upset for, that we have a right to get upset for, the Rambam says that we shouldn't get upset for them. But derech tzadikim, and the way of the tzadikim, the way of the righteous people, hina luvim ve'inan olvim. They get embarrassed by other people, but they get put down by others, but they don't put down other people. A person that listen to their disgrace ve'inan meshivim, and they don't answer back. They do things out of love, and they're happy with pain. And on them the pasuk says, and Hashem loves them like the sun that goes out at its fullest strength. There's there's lots of chapters about this in Tanya. Basically explains that the righteous people, they view whatever Hashem does is for the good. So they never get upset about anything negative or anything painful or any tragedy that happens to them in the world, because they know that it's for a better reason. It's for a good purpose. So they never get upset about anything that happens to them because they know it's for a better reason and it's for a better purpose. They can't see it now. They don't know why that's good, but they believe God and they know that it's good. Okay, now the Rambam is going to talk about speech. A person should love and to conduct himself in silence. You should only speak when he has something knowledgeable to say, unless you actually need something, so you have to communicate through speech. Amru al Rav, they said on Rav, which he was a Talmud of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, the one that compiled the Mishnah. So Rav was a Talmud of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, which he composed the Sifra and the Sifri. He never spoke a extra or a unneeded conversation in his life. The basic talk that to improve. Okay, sorry about that. It seems like the connection is a little low. They say about the Talmud of Rav. They say about Rav, which he was a Talmud of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, that he never spoke anything extra than what he needed to speak. This the Chacham said, anybody who speaks too much is going to bring upon himself sin. But when they say, I did not find anything better for my body than silence. So Rambam says silence is extremely powerful. Once we blabble, once we schmooze, once we yent too much, it's only going to bring to negative things. It's enjoyable and we like doing it, but it's very, very harmful and it's going to lead into many negative things. That's why we should only speak and say what we do need to speak and say, and all of our words should be calculated. The same too applies with learning. Even if teaching and even if you're learning, the concepts should be rich and should be vast and should be deep. But the words to convey the concepts should be few. This is what the Chachamim commanded and said, a teacher should always teach a student in a very concise way. But if the words, if the teacher is trying to convey a very small or more of a shallow or like a light concept, and he's using many words for it, it's called foolishness. But on this, it says in Koheles, and the voice of the foolish people are going to be with many words. So it's a small concept, but with many words, so that is pointless. Hey, the gate and the boundary for knowledge is silence. Silence is a prerequisite, I guess, or guarding for wisdom. Therefore, you shouldn't be quick to answer. And you shouldn't speak too much. You shouldn't overspeak. And you should teach your students in a calm way, without yelling, and without too many extra words. And this is what Shlomo says. Divrei Chachamim, it's a very, very famous quote. Divrei Chachamim, the words of the wise people, of the rabbis, benachas hashbam, are listened with ease and in an enjoyable and comforting way, I guess. Fine. Now we're going to speak about. So until now we spoke about how to conduct ourselves in a healthy way. If someone is unhealthy, they should go to doctors, and doctors should if they're one extreme, the doctors should teach them how to go to the other extreme so they could start behaving in the proper path. Then we spoke about anger, how we should distance ourselves from anger. And then we just spoke about now how speech, we should be very, very careful with our speech. We shouldn't speak too much, because as soon as we overspeak, it's going to bring to the negative things. Now the Rambam is going to speak about we should not deceive people. We should be very truthful and honest in what we say, and especially what we do. Vav. You should not be deceiving in your words. You shouldn't have one thing in your heart and another thing in your speech. Your inside should be like your outside. But inyin shabalev hu hadar but also lignev dasa besa filuga. You are not allowed to fool people. You're not allowed to trick people. You're not allowed to deceive people, even non-Jews. Ketzad, what's an example for this? How would I deceive someone like Yimkar Lago? You should not sell Tanam Jew, Basar Nevela Bachlal Shchuta. You should not sell if a non-Jew wants to buy kosher meat. You shouldn't say, listen, this non-Jew, he doesn't need to eat kosher meat, so I could sell him non-kosher meat and he wouldn't know the difference. It doesn't make a difference to him if it's kosher or not. The Rambam says, no, that's called fooling him. That's called deceiving him. That's called tricking. That's called lying to him. He wants kosher meat. Makes no difference why. He wants it and you're not giving that to him. Another example he brings, a Gentile wants to buy a shoe that's made out of animal hide, but from a slaughtered animal and not from a dead animal. Not from an animal that died naturally. I guess the hide is more tougher and it's more thick and it's better. It's more healthier if it's coming from an animal that was slaughtered as opposed to an animal that died and then it was turned into leather. So you say, listen, what does it make a difference? It's the same hide. It's both from an animal. It's the same shoe. It's leather. The same leather. Fine when the animal died and when the animal was slaughtered. No, because the quality of the shoe is a little bit different, it makes a difference, and that's called deceiving him. If you want to invite someone over for dinner, but you know he has an invitation somewhere else. So you're like, you know what? I'm just going to be nice. I'm going to make him feel good. I know that he can't come over to me for dinner. So you say, listen, Yankel, I want you to come over to my house for dinner. And you know that Yankel needs to go to his friend for dinner. But you want to be nice. The Rambam says, no, that's deceiving because you know that he can't go to your house, but you're trying to be nice and you're actually like deceiving him because you know that he's not coming over to you for dinner. So it's not a proper invitation. Or if you have your friend over in your house and you have a barrel of wine that you need to open up for the next day because you need to sell it, and you're telling, listen, for you, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to open up my new barrel of wine. But you're not opening up for him. You need to open it up either way because you're selling it the next day. So that's called deceiving. You're making as if you're doing it for him while it's not really for him. The Rambam says that's also a deceiving. You're not allowed to trick anybody. I feel mila achash lefitish like nevazasasura. Even a single word of stealing someone else's knowledge and like deceiving them is prohibited. It's usur. Elasvas emes. You should have a clear language, a clear tongue, v'ruach nachin, and a straight kind of mind and spirit. V'leiv tara, and a pure heart. That's we call amal v'havais, clean from any kind of deceiving and any kind of trickery. Now comes the last halacha. Someone shouldn't be a jokester and someone that just continues, just is rolling with jokes and rolling with laughter and humor and never has a serious moment in his life. So that's one extreme. You shouldn't be in the other extreme as well. You shouldn't be someone that's constantly sad and mourning and depressed. You should be in the middle. You should be happy. So you shouldn't be overly joyed and always crazy and always just making jokes and dancing around, and you shouldn't be sad and depressed. Rather, you should be in the middle path. You should be happy. This is what Chum says. Being, I guess we could translate it as just constantly making jokes and always being light-headed. They train people and they cause people to inappropriate actions. And the Chum commanded us, a person shouldn't be laughing all day, and he shouldn't be lazy. Rather, he accepts everybody in a dignified and a respectful and in a nice way, not over and not under from what they deserve. And also, someone shouldn't be crazy over every single penny that they gain or they lose. And the other extreme, and they shouldn't be lazy and not work. So you shouldn't care about every single dime and penny that you're making and constantly wanting more and more. but also in the other extreme, you also shouldn't say that, you know what, I'm not going to work, I'm going to be lazy, I'm going to be unemployed, I'm not going to accomplish anything. Ella bal ayin tov, you should have a good eye, you should have a healthy eye. Ma'at be'esek, you should work to the minimal that you need. Be'esek batera, you should engage in studying Torah. Be'esek ma'at b'chalkai yismach b'ay, and the little that you have, you should be happy with. V'lo about ektata, and you shouldn't be someone that's constantly fighting with people and just starting arguments. About kina, and you shouldn't always be jealous of other people. About taiva, and always craving different kind of cravings. And you should not be running after your respect. This is what the Chacham say: kina, jealousy, taiva, and indulging, a kavod and honor. Those three things might see us adam min. People who just are obsessed with these three things, they take them out of the world in a physical way. They don't have a proper life. They're constantly chasing after these things, and they want more and more and more and more. The rule of thumb is you should always go in the middle path in every single topic and idea until all of your ideas and all of your conducts should be in the middle and balanced way. And this is what Shlomo says: in all of your ways, you should be truthful, and you should go in the middle path and the truthful way. So that is basically the end of the parak. Just to recap quickly what we went through, the Rambam says in the beginning, there's, I guess, 5 different kind of topics. If you want to break it up, the Rambam speaks about people who are unhealthy, who have unhealthy eating habits and unhealthy habits in the way they conduct themselves. The Rambam suggests them to go to a doctor. There's people who are physically unhealthy, and there's people who are emotionally or mentally unhealthy, and they both have to go to different doctors. Then the Rambam speaks about someone who has anger or is egoistic or is narcissistic. You have to distance yourself from them as much. They have to distance themselves away from that trait as much as they can. Then Rambam spoke about speech. They should be very careful in your speech. You should not overspeak because it just brings to negative things. And the Rambam spoke about deceiving. We should not deceive people. Rather, we should be truthful, and we should be real, and we should be authentic, and we should be transparent. And the last thing the Rambam said, that a person should always be happy with what he has, and he shouldn't overreact or underreact to different things. Rather, he should always go in the middle path. That is the Rambam, Hilchos Deis, chapter 2. Thank you very much for joining. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask. And this is basically the end of the class.